One thing that has drastically helped me in recognizing the incredibly fragile nature of my life is meditating on the nature of the vessel that my consciousness is resting in. How prone it is to sickness, disease, and of course, death. Meditating on each body part and recognizing the risk of failure that lies in each one. Acknowledging how valuable their proper functioning is to me now that I exist. Also making note of all the things that provide me with a sense of security. My home, my car, my relationships, my finances. Recognizing that while these things undoubtedly help with making my life more stable and secure, none of them will save me from the inevitable. I'm not anywhere near as secure as I oftentimes believe myself to be. If you take some time to genuinely contemplate how vulnerable your body is, along with the bodies of your loved ones, how a slow death could be just right around the corner, given how quickly the years slip away from us, and this doesn't fill you with dread, odds are your perception is being heavily obscured by the veil, the illusion of security, and as such, the very real possibility of experiencing great suffering in the future doesn't feel like a reality. I'm not suggesting that you should spend all of your time obsessing over every possible risk to the point where it negatively impacts your health and paralyzes you into complete inaction. That would be counterproductive. But when observing many of the mindless, reckless actions of human beings, it becomes clear that the majority of us do not contemplate it anywhere near as much as we should. If most of us took the time each day to really sit with this truth, imagine how much more appreciative we would be of our temporary possession of good health, and how much less animalistic and short-sighted we would all be in general. I can just as easily recognize this in myself, in the mistakes that I've made and the things that I wish I would have done differently. The bad habits that I wish I would have corrected sooner, and the good habits that I wish I would have incorporated sooner. Like not really trying in school, not planning well enough for the future, not taking good enough care of my body or mind. These mistakes can mainly be traced back to me feeling as though the consequences for my actions wouldn't be as significant as they were actually quite likely to be. Once the veil is lifted, one can better recognize the plethora of landmines that are laid out before us, and thus have a better shot at maneuvering around them successfully. This would result in a more thoughtful decision-making process when it comes to the most important choices we are faced with, like the main consequential choices in leading up to having a child with someone, down to seemingly benign choices and habits that can quickly add up over time and can eventually result in catastrophe. As I mentioned, these landmines can take on many forms, not just sickness or injury. They can also come in the form of financial troubles, a dead-end job, an accidental pregnancy, or horribly toxic relationships. Things that have the potential to rob us of years and years of happiness or contentment. And this is a perfect example of how a form of pessimism, living in reality, can be immensely helpful. If you refuse to fully acknowledge the landmines, or trick yourself into believing that a God is protecting you from them, this doesn't make them magically go away. All it does is make you more ignorant of the danger in their existence. And this, of course, oftentimes translates to a blown-off leg, so to speak. Lots of pain and suffering that could have been easily avoided.